Hello, my name is Mara, and welcome to Books Like Whoa. Boy, guys, today we've got an Unhaul, and I've got some books in here. I know people are not going to be happy with me about, but that's just how it goes, okay? So, what we are doing today is we are doing an Unhaul. I'm going to go to the used bookstore either this afternoon or tomorrow. I have not one, actually. I've already started taking some of the books out, but I filled up my new In the Body of the Library bag because my normal Unhaul bag was already full. So, got a lot that I'm taking, and some of these are by people, some of these are by authors who people really love and who they have really strong feelings about. So this should be fun. Okay, so we'll start with some of the less controversial ones and maybe move on. I think you guys, you know that I unhaul for my own benefit, and I'm somebody who doesn't like to keep books around that don't have like a specific purpose, like in terms of either rereading or they're a favorite, or I might lend them out, or I'm gonna reference them in videos a lot or whatever. I personally like to move books out of my collection. And then I also do feel an obligation in terms of books are meant to be read or at least enjoyed in some way or another. And if that's not gonna be with me, and especially if they're popular books, I feel like I want to give them a new life, a new home, somewhere where they're going to be appreciated. So that is something that I always try to be pretty good about. I think you guys get a video like this from me about once a quarter, which is about how often I go to the used bookstore and take books to sell to them or to give to the free bin. So with that being said, I am going to show you the things that I'm taking this time. Let's start with an easy, I'm gonna do all three of these at once. So, fun little backstory here. Back at the end of 2018, I ordered from the Ripped Bodice one of their mystery boxes, and it had, you know, a couple of like little bookish related merch kind of things, and then it had 3 blind dates with the books in it. And the plan had been to read all 3 of these and do like a vlog thing, because I had done a vlog in 2018 with some blind dates with a book from them that I had picked. So the difference was the first time I did this experiment, I was at the store physically and got to read the descriptions and pick my blind dates with books. So I was a little more invested in those, and these were all just ones they randomly picked for me. And as it happened, all 3 of these are books that I'm like not that interested in reading. Like I would have been like I was ready to do it as a part of the vlog, but like I wasn't actually that interested in reading any of these. But then I moved. Like at the end of last year, I was in the middle of moving, and I honestly just like completely lost steam on that project. And it's now been a year. I still don't really have any drive to do this at this point. So like, why am I still holding on to the books? So I'm sad that I sort of like wasted the money and like caused something to be shipped that I'm ultimately not going to do. But reality is we're now a year out. I'm not interested in any 3 of these. So I am taking to the used bookstore. What is it? I don't even know the name of these. Blood and Bone by Tara Brown. Okay. I think this was like a romantic suspense of some kind. The Memory of You by Jamie Beck, which was just sort of like a normal straight up contemporary. And Side Effects, Sex, the Only Thing She Has to Offer by GK Powell. Honestly, just from the cover of this, I kind of am intrigued, but I know this is a romantic suspense, and I remember I wasn't interested in any 3 of these by their descriptions, so it's just time to let them move on and out of my collection. Okay, and I just realized that literally all the rest of these are from their either popular books or from authors that people love, so I'm just gonna have to bite the bullet. Okay, first of all, Milk and Honey by Rupi Kaur. I read this when this first came out, and I liked it fine. I never reread this, so I kind of realized when I was looking at it on my shelf one day, I'm like, why is this still here? I'm never gonna reread this. So this is just sort of a straight up like, this is popular, it deserves to have a life beyond me moment. But the next one I'm gonna mention is people like this author. So I am unhauling both of the Georgette hairs I had. I read A Christmas Party, and it was only just okay to me. The thing that made it only just okay was the writing style, was the authorial voice. So I know people really love Georgette Hare. I'd already gotten another of her mysteries called PENHALLOW, but this just really didn't intrigue me to keep going. And there's just so many other books that I want to read that I just can't justify trying to dive into an author who I was so mediocre on their writing on. People also love her Regencies. I tried to read one at some point in the past and wasn't that into it, but thought, oh, I'll just come back. Now I'm like, I'm just not gonna come back to it. So I know she's popular, but I'm gonna pass her along. Other people can enjoy. Isn't that good? I'm letting other people enjoy her. Then I'm getting rid of this copy of Orthodoxy by GK Chesterton because I consolidated and got an edition of Everyman's Chesterton from the Everyman's Library editions that includes this. So I just don't need this anymore. So this one is actually positive. I still have this just in a different form. And this is a perennial classic, so I'm sure it will be appreciated at the used bookstore. Then I've got 2 that are not, they're both 2 YA books book of the month club picks that I read and liked. Like, I actually quite like this one. I think I gave this one 4 stars, but I don't really see myself rereading this anytime soon, and I would rather just put it back out into circulation. I feel like the YA section at the Nashville version of McKay's is not as good as the one in Knoxville, so I'm happy to maybe make their YA section a little bit better. So I'm gonna take that one. And then the 10,000 Doors of January, I don't see a path where I'm gonna reread this. This is just not that appealing to me on a reread. Like, I liked it fine when I read it. I think I gave it 3.5 stars. It was fine, but even now I don't remember all that much about it, and I'm not gonna reread it. So this was a pretty popular title this year, so I'd rather kind of take it and let someone else give it a try. Oh, and I guess we can just polish off book of the month club picks. So I know people, again, are not gonna be happy with me about this just based on the comments of when I read Uprooted. So I read Uprooted and I did like it. I gave it 3.5 stars, and I would try more from Naomi Novik. I don't think I like Naomi Novik in this sort of fairy tale mode. The writing is nice, but I don't think it's that effective in moving the plot along. And I'm not intrigued to read any. I know that these are not a series. It's a series in the sense of same kind of cover design, same kind of vibe, same kind of project of like retelling a fairy tale, but they're not related beyond that. But I read the first one that she did in that mode, Uprooted, and I was less interested even just going into it of reading Spinning Silver. Like, this one appealed to me less than Uprooted did. So if I didn't really like the overall, I didn't like is too strong. It was fine, but I wasn't intrigued to continue reading more from Naomi Novik in this mode. So that means I need to just get rid of this and focus on reading. I have His Majesty's Dragon. That will be my next Naomi Novik. I have that as an ebook. So this is not going to be my next Naomi Novik. I'm not interested in reading this now based on seeing how she does fairy tale retellings in general. Okay, and so again, oh man, well, we'll just end with three big ones. So I am taking Nevermore, and actually I should go grab my copy of Wundersmith too. Basically what I've realized is that I do like reading these in the physical form. I've been going back and forth between physical and audio, but I actually really do like the audiobooks, and I think I would just rather get the audio from Scribd or from my library than continue to get the physical books of these. And because this is such a great series, I would rather move this along. And again, like I mentioned, kind of the YA middle grade section at the Nashville McKay's I don't think is as good as it should be, so I'm happy to make it a little bit better with both of those books. So like those, we'll keep reading in that series, but I just am not going to keep the physical copies anymore. So there's that. And then as you guys know, I DNF'd Gideon the Ninth, and I don't want to keep it. It's a very popular book this year. It's a very hot book. So this is definitely a situation where I DNF'd it, so it would be going out anyway, but then especially because it's one people are looking for, I'm happy to put a used copy into circulation for people to put their hands on. I should say, I talk a lot about like for my community. One of the things that's really cool about the used bookstore I go to, McKay's, is that it's a bookstore that is really frequented by our whole community here in Middle Tennessee. So there are definitely people who will like drive in from rural communities where maybe their library is not that great or whatever, and go to McKay's and like make it a big trip to get books and video games or board games. Like, it's got vinyl records, it's got comic books, it's got all kinds of really cool used stuff at McKay's. So it's like a whole thing. So to me, I do have that in mind also of like, okay, a book that maybe you couldn't easily get, like a book that maybe your local rural library doesn't have, and you're coming in to get a used copy from McKay's because maybe you can't afford a new copy. Like this falls into that bucket of like, I think that this is a community service for somebody who is interested in this book and maybe doesn't have easy access to it. Like, I'm happy to move it along for that piece of my community. Okay guys, and then we come to the two that I know people will have a lot of feelings about. I have reasons for both of these, so let's talk about it. Okay, first of all, I had a moment when I was looking at my shelves the other day where I realized that this book is one that I'm just not ever gonna read. The reason I'm not ever gonna read it is because it's a big, long, chunky book. It has invaded the zeitgeist of our culture enough that I know a lot of what happens in this book. I have seen the film adaptation of this book, and there's just not enough that would be gained at this point, I think, of me committing to how many pages are in this thing? Like 1,200 page book at this point. I'm sure that I would get something, like, don't mishear me. I am sure that I would gain something from reading it for myself rather than just watching the movie or just listen to people talk about it. But for the 1,200 pages it would take for me to do that, it's just not gonna happen. Like, I need to be real with myself. It's just not gonna happen at this point. There's also a big thing that happens at the end that I know about out and I'm like, I already know I'm gonna be sort of like WTF about that, and I'll have to like put that to the side in my estimation of the book. Anyway, it's kind of, okay, I'll say It. I'm not gonna read It. I'm just not. Stephen King. I'm not gonna read this. And what I did was I told myself that because I was gonna unhaul this, I allowed myself to go ahead and buy The Institute from him, because that's a newer book that I do have like active interest in reading. It's not been spoiled for me. It's not such a chunky book. So I did a swap. I said, okay, if you get rid of this, you can go ahead and grab The Institute, which I did. So that I will read at some point, but I'm never gonna get to this. And I just need to live in that reality that this is just not gonna happen anytime soon. If it does, I probably will do it as audio from the library. Okay, similarly, this last one, I've just come to the realization that if I'm gonna do it anytime soon, I'm going to do it as audio from the library, and that is The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. Here's what the tipping point on this was for me. Watching Murphy Napier's Worst Books of 2019 video, and she was talking about the sequel to this, which is the Wiseman's Sphere, I think. And she was talking about it, and I wasn't that surprised because I've heard many people say like, oh, I really love Name of the Wind. Oof, Wiseman's Sphere, not my favorite, but the third one's gonna be great. And she said something that I hadn't heard someone say before, and that was where I was like, you know what? I don't want to commit to even thinking about starting the series until that third one comes out, because I want to hear from people about how this gets worked out. And that is, she brought up the fact that she doesn't see how, based on the number of things going on by the end of the second book, how that could be satisfyingly resolved in a single third volume. Basically, that there's too many plots for this to actually satisfyingly wrap up in a trilogy from where she stands right now, having read the first two books. There are other things that have made me hesitant about reading this in general, which I don't really want to get into in this video, but that was what really just was like, why are you holding on to this big chunky physical copy that's a nice hardback that you know, it's not super easy to get your hands on a hardback of these. Why are you holding on to this chunky hardback of a book that you're already sort of like, I don't know how I feel about this trilogy. I don't know how I feel about this author. I've got some questions, whatever. Why am I doing that? If the third book isn't even out yet, and then when she said that of like, I don't see how this is gonna wrap up in a third book, I was just like, you know what? I don't want to even commit the shelf space to this until I hear how that third book goes. So the plan of action is, when that mythical third book eventually comes out, and that's why I hadn't even started. I was like, I'm not gonna even start this until that third book comes out. But if and when that third book eventually comes out, I will wait. I will hear what the response from people are, probably specifically from her, because that is definitely a concern for me. So I want to hear what she says about if she thinks everything gets wrapped up. And if people are like, yeah, you know what, like third book, nailed the landing, I will start listening to this on audio from the library. And if I end up absolutely loving it, then I will reinvest in a physical copy. But for now, this doesn't need to live on my shelves. I also just think I realized that this is the kind of book that I want to have read, but I'm not that interested in the actual reading. Like the book itself, actually, the plot and stuff doesn't necessarily intrigue me all that much. So with all those factors combined, I'm like, you know what? It's just time. It's time to let someone else enjoy this who is not me, because I just think it's languishing on my shelves needlessly right now. Whew. Okay, guys, that was a journey, right? Hopefully people understand my reasoning, and you know, no shade really to any of these authors in terms of like, there's none of these that I'm like, I have no idea why you like this, and bump up, you like, this is a terrible book or whatever. It's a lot of just like, I don't need to keep owning this, or I don't have a firm reading plan for this book, so it's time to just let it move along. So let me know your thoughts about any of the books I mentioned. Please be kind to me, and let me know what the last book you unhauled was. Are you somebody who does unhaul, or do you just hold on to them forever? Let me know that below in the comments. And yeah, I think that will do it for now. So if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, follow me on the social medias if you are so inclined. I have all that information listed in the description box below, and I think that will do it. I hope you guys are having an absolutely lovely day, and I will just talk to you soon. Bye!